no need the women playing.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
How's it going?
well, I've been sitting at my desk all day, Joel, and got 2 papers for Academy of Management to review. So I'm not sure if that was good or bad, but I got them. How about you?
I'm not sure either. Well, I'm back now, so we'll have to chat.
Yeah, that'll be nice. We're around on the weekend, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a little bit insane.
Well, I would think it's a long drive and classes and
And just, I don't, yeah. So just tougher leaving than I thought it was going to be
well, you're in love.
for everyone involved.
Sorry.
But Taylor got to ride the bus today. She was very excited.
Cool.
Anna said she left the house and went, yeah.
Well, so then we have that to celebrate, right?
That's right. Yep.
Cool.
If nothing else, we got that.
Well,
Lots of fun.
shall we get started?
Sure.
How many people we got? Sharon, Joel, Rhonda, Joy is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, Judy and Steve aren't here yet.
Okay.
And Vicky and Fred aren't going to be here, so.
Yeah, Fred wasn't too pleased with Zoom if his last line was anything to go by. But well, things to celebrate. Taylor's doing great. Anybody else got anything? Yeah.
Besides the wonderful inauguration, I also got inoculated yesterday. So, inoculation on the inauguration is just perfect. I won the lottery.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are going to be able to go and explore the world soon.
I'm not holding my breath.
Well, okay.
Not immediately.
Yeah.
Sadly, I'm not sure the world will have us yet. We're gonna have to. We got a little making up to do.
There you go. The thing I've got to celebrate is I'm building a course, and I've finally got the LMS system pretty much figured out. So I'm pleased and happy that it's getting easier.
What are you building a course for?
I'm helping Louise with her leadership and motivation course.
Cool.
Yeah, it is. I do all the hard work and she just goes out and sparkles and shines.
Isn't that the way it always is?
Well, it's worth it.
You got to have both, right?
There you are. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Hi, Dale.
Hello.
Um,
I'm going to also add that I'm still celebrating from yesterday.
So was it Lady Gaga or Springsteen that did it for you?
The whole thing. Starting with the early departure toward Florida.
There you go. I have a friend out in California who's got a Trump golf course down the road from him, and it's on the cliffs in Palos Verde. And every time he drives down by it, he just shakes his fist.
Pretty funny.
Well, there you go. All right, let's move on. Approval of the minutes for January 14 meeting. And thank you, Sharon, for doing that.
Sure.
I move the approval of the minutes for January 14.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I'm going to abstain because I'm sorry, Sharon, I didn't get a chance to read them. I'm sure they're phenomenal, but
They're very short.
well, then I should have just gone and read them.
You should have winged.
I saw that Google link and I went, oh my God, No, I can't go there, so I apologize. Any further discussion? Meetings approved, or minutes approved at any rate. Number 3 item is Rhonda made some comments on Vicky's email, and in that email, Rhonda, I think I read you wanted to make some comments at the meeting.
Not particularly, but I certainly will try to answer any questions. It may not have been sufficiently clear, but let me just say, I appreciated Vicky's taking the time to lay out some of her perceptions and certainly her suggestion. And since I thought I would probably be commenting at least to some extent tonight on some of what she said, then I wanted her to know in advance what I probably would say. And so if there are any questions about what I said, I'll be happy to respond. But otherwise, my main purpose was just to say, Vicky, I heard you, and here are some of my reactions to what you said.
Anybody have some thoughts on it?
Well, I thought, Rhonda, you made a really good point about, even though, I guess I disagreed with, even though he's the construction manager, he doesn't represent, I disagreed with that sentiment from Vicky in that he seems to have taken the role of representing the organization. And if he's going to do that, he needs to do it in the right way. So if he just wants to be the construction manager, then he really shouldn't be inviting people up. He shouldn't be representing us. And if he wants to represent us, then he has to represent us. So I thought you actually had that right, Rhonda. And I think, you know, we need to emphasize that to him, is that if you're going to represent us, we're going through that, as you probably read in the newspaper, we're going through that right now at Western. Things have been pretty hot up here. After the president's statement on the Capitol Hill riots, and I thought we were going to have a riot on campus, to be honest with you. And it was a similar thing. It's like, you know, an email was sent out. There was clearly a personal opinion, but you know, for all intents and purposes, representing the university, and people at the university weren't happy about that. It's like, that doesn't represent my view. So, you know, I think that's an important distinction, is that if he's going to represent us, then he has to do that correctly. That's my percent.
I think, Joel, the other piece of this that I did not comment on in my response to Vicky is that the board also has certain responsibilities and a role to take. And we need to keep that in mind. You know, it's one thing to say we want volunteers. We'd like to be able to support the organization in terms of adequate income to the organization, any number of things. So when we talk, at least for me, when we talk about roles and responsibilities, certainly the board has some too.
I completely agree.
And we just need to constantly remember that.
I do as well. And when I send out my emails, and you guys obviously know how I feel about our former president. And when you guys said, well, no, we can't do that because it represents the board and the organization as a whole, I thought that was very fair. I thought it was very reasonable. And I thought, yeah, we need to be careful. I was a little impassioned that day. And that's okay. And we do need to take care.
Yeah, just because we say someone else has a particular role and responsibility does not absolve us from having some too. And we just need to constantly remember that. And try to be clear about how we can improve
Well, you got the floor, Joy.
It's
That's-
just a crank call, a scam.
Oh.
Besides, I have a cat on my lap. I can't get up and answer the phone.
Yours? Joy, is it your phone or somebody else's?
It's my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's my landline. And it was a call from Fred David. Who knows who that is?
He wants to.
He didn't leave a message, so you know it's, not legit.
Well, what he wants you to do is renew your car warranty.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, do we have any further thoughts or comments on what we've said so far?
Well, I just think it behooves all of us to, and, I should be the first one to think before I speak, because lots of times I don't. But, there's a lot of tension still all around this community and the world. And I just think we need to think carefully before we speak. And I'm the first one who needs to do that.
Well, can I line up behind you?
Sure.
I think, Joy, that really makes a lot of sense. And I also think from what Rhonda was saying, that we, and Joel too, that we want to be really clear what this organization is and what we want it to say. And I'm hoping we can get there really quickly. I think the BHAGs everybody sent me are exceptional. They're just absolutely marvelous. And I think we'll all find some things in there that we're going to be surprised about. And I think we should get that nailed down so that we can put that behind us and we know exactly what we would want Julie and Killian represent and what each one of us represents in terms of what we think this organization is and where we're going to go. So shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay. We talked about Killian last week, and I've been trying to work, well, I've been working with Julie for the last 8 months or so, and 9 months. And as I said, I've spent a lot of time listening to her. And one of the reasons I wanted to have these closed board meetings is there's some observations that I've made with respect to what Julie's doing that I think we want to think about. Now, I want to make it absolutely clear that I think Julie's a wonderful person. And I have personally no bone to pick with her at all. But I think these are important things. One of the things I asked Julie a couple of times, because I thought this was important with her talk about the board and it not being engaged enough. I asked her, well, Julie, what do you think you should consult the board about? And I asked her that on 2 different occasions so that she could tell me these are the issues that I see as board issues that I need feedback from the board. And she didn't answer it. And that was confusing for me because on the one hand, and she's human like all of us, right? On the one hand, she's saying, I need the board more involved. I want the board more involved. And on the other hand, when I'm asking her, okay, what does that look like? I'm not getting an answer. So I think maybe I'll just shut up there at that point. That's one of the 3 things I wanted to touch on there. How do we feel about her feeling that way?
Well, I think that all of us have roles to play. Some are more active than others. I mean, it's good to hear that Steve apparently is gonna step up and be the construction manager. That's something I could never do. I can shoot my mouth off and I can bring food and supplies. And, you know, I have a brand new pair of wood staining gloves that are in my closet for a year. But, you know, some of us are more limited and have different, it's like every other group of people. We all have different skills and talents. And we're not all going to do the same thing. So I don't know specifically what Julie was saying, but you know, some of us do what we can, and you know, I could not do numbers. I mean, that's like Vicky's talent and Rhonda's talent, and Rhonda has all kinds of wisdom the rest of us will never have. And, you know, Sharon's terribly efficient and does a lot around the community. So, you know, I think it's hard to pinpoint what, unless she had specific people in mind that weren't doing whatever they were supposed to be doing, but I don't know anything about that.
Joy's observations about this are really important ones. I think what we always want in a board is a variety of backgrounds and skills, so that we do in fact have somebody such as Vicky, who really does know the ins and outs of all the money business and the tax return and all that sort of stuff. What I've been thinking about related to this over the past week is that it seems to me it might be useful somehow, and I don't want to specify anything about the how part, if we, all of us, the board and Julie, and for that matter, Killian too,
Well, let me see if I can get it to you, okay?
could be
Steve
clear.
just called in, I'm sorry.
I don't know where I left you or you left me. Anyway, let me start the sentence over, Ralph. What I said was that consistent with what Joy had just said, we always want a board with diverse backgrounds and skills. But we also, related to that underlying expectation for a board, we also want to be clear about the board's role, the executive director's role, and in this case, Killian's role. So we don't get those things confused. You know, there are things that we need to delegate to Julie. Clearly, I don't want to be in the middle of detailed management kind of stuff. I don't want to go there. So there are things that we need to delegate. Now, if there are things that it would be helpful for us to know from her about our role as a board, then I think we need to discover those things. We need to just find out. Because I don't think any one of us has the idea that the board needs to be involved in detailed management kind of stuff. I don't want to go there, but there may be things that Julie has in mind that it would in fact be helpful for me to know. Tell me. You know, I'm a grown up, I can deal with it. Just tell me. Now, we may need a discussion about that, but that's okay too, you know. We may have in mind, I don't know that we do, but we may have in mind that our expectation of Julie is more supervision of Killian. Well, if we do, he needs to know that. you know, if we have an expectation of her, then it's not fair for us to say, we're expecting this of you, but we're sorry we never told you. You know, we really do need to, I think, be as clear as we can be about the role of the board, the role of Julie, and related to her role, then the role of Killian. And I don't think that should take a whole lot of time to figure out. It may take some time to have a discussion about, in the sense of understanding from Julie some of what she's concerned about. Well, let's find out. You know, let's just ask her. I left our last meeting a little concerned about really saying, I don't know how she said it to you, Ralph, but I don't remember how you said it. But if her perception is we're not doing what she wants us to do, well, let's find out what that is. Let's have a conversation about it. You know, we're people who can talk to each other.
I'd be inclined to agree with that. I actually find us one of the nicest groups of people I've had the pleasure to be involved with.
Well,
Hi,
we're
Steve.
all real characters, so you got to get used to that part.
Oh, that's the truth. Steve, I assume that was you just got in?
He's on mute.
Yep. I don't think I can unmute him.
I have to say, I do think Julie feels she's out there on her own. I think she feels and it's not because of what we've done or what she's done, but I think because we're finding out things after the fact, and then we may comment about it, and she's made that decision, and I think that makes her feel like she's making all the decisions and doing it on her own. I don't know. I can't speak for Julie, but I can see where I think she has a lot on her plate. And I don't know, as board members, if we can even take any of that off of her plate.
For me, I guess I feel that this is part of our job as a board, is to observe what the executive director is doing. Over the last 6 to 8 months, to the degree that Julie is managing somebody who's building a house, there wasn't much on her plate. And I agree, Sharon, it sure comes across like there's a ton of stuff on her plate, right? And I have to, Stephen's calling, so let me, hang on a sec. Hi. Well, let's try leaving the iPhone on and see if that works. Say hi, Stephen. Let me try this. I can do better than that. There, you want to try it again, sir? You want to say hi again? Hello. Can we hear Stephen?
He's in the tunnel.
Well, tunnel's better than nothing. The joys of Zooming, huh?
Yeah.
There you go. You're sounding less tunnely.
Is that better?
How's that working for everybody?
It's better.
You'll just have to shout when you talk.
Okay, I will.
So my point is not to chastise Julie in any way, but my point is that I think she does have a lot on her plate. I think she is doing a lot. Well, what is it? And it must be really important to her. And I'm not sure we as a group understand all of what that is and all of what matters to her. Some of the stuff obviously comes through, but I don't think enough of it comes through for us to fully grasp. That's my thought.
Well, I know one thing. One of the reasons people wanted me on the board was to get on a construction committee. And I am willing to do that. And I know Vicki would like to be on it. And I think the committee should be Jillian, Julie, Vicki, and I. And then we can have our meeting and either go between the board and Vicki and I can help Julie and Killian to understand what Habitat for Humanity is trying to do and keep everybody informed and have transparency. And I am willing to do that. And I know Vicki is also. I think that would get rid of all this.
I can't hear what he's saying.
Stephen, this is Rhonda. If I remember correctly from our last meeting, Karen was also interested in the construction
That's fine.
committee.
The more we can do that. If we
Yeah.
have people that want to be on.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think when somebody expresses some interest in some aspect of what we're doing, you know, let's get them involved.
I agree. And I'm willing to do that. And what I'm trying to do is do everything that everybody understands what's going on. I'm trying to be transparent, and Habitat for Humanity has recognized our operation here, and they're trying to figure out a way to move forward with the sustainable type construction. And in a way, we're breaking ground here, but we've all got to get on the same page. And I think we can do that with the construction committee. And I know all the people I mentioned, and you mentioned Sharon also, if we're willing to do it, I think it'll really help with the communication between all parties involved.
I agree, Stephen. I think you're right. And you also raise a concern for me, is that with the sustainable build, we're getting into $250,000 houses. And that really destroys our ability to address the point of Habitat, which is to help people that are under the poverty line and the like. And so I think we need to address that as well. I think we want to do both. I get it.
And I think that can be done. And but I think it's going to take the construction committee to get there, because there's some strong-minded people that are going to have to be convinced that we've got to think outside of the box to get this done.
I agree.
And there's got to be, it's like anything. There's got to be a little bit of compromise, and there are different materials out there, and there's different ways to get materials, and we just got to try to make the best judgment to get the best product for the money we're spending, or within a budget. Let me put throw you that too.
Well, what are people's thoughts on this?
On what?
Well, the um, idea, I think I heard Steve say that sustainability is something we should be championing because we are seen as a starting point in terms of builds. And I think, Stephen, you also said that we need to address the fact that our costs at $250,000 for building a house does push a lot of people out of being able to buy it and get our support. And we should be looking seriously. And in this sense, I'm just going to acquiesce to you. You and the
my main goal tonight is to come out and have a construction committee. Period. Right now. I want to start with the first step. And I haven't stepped up to do anything. I've just been kind of waiting to see what's going on. But I really see the need for the construction committee now.
I'm personally comfortable with that. How does everybody else feel?
I think it's an excellent idea.
I
Joyce,
do too.
thumbs up. Joel, Dale, what are your thoughts?
I agree.
Sharon?
I agree.
Joe, you're off and running, Steve.
Okay, I'm gonna take it and run.
Wonderful, thank you.
I've missed most of this meeting, so I'm backing out right now.
Oh, don't, you're
Just
fine.
listening.
You're fine. You came in a good way, I think. I think one of the things I've observed with Julie in the board meetings, and I think this will relate back to the communication and the transparency. This is an observation, I believe it's correct, and I've seen it a number of times, is that when Julie gets asked a direct question, and it's obvious she doesn't know the answer to the question, she doesn't seem to feel comfortable just saying, I don't know, let me go and get the information and I'll get back to you. And I'm worried that she doesn't feel safe to say something like that. And I think sometimes an executive director just needs to answer that question. Never thought of that question. Thank you, board person. I really appreciate it. That's what you're there for, to think about things that I can't because I'm busy. Give me a minute to find out the info. I'll get it back to you. And I'm really concerned she doesn't feel safe to say that kind of thing. And so that, like I said, I'm concerned about that. That's just, I'm sad.
Being in the role of executive director of any organization is a really difficult spot. And I wonder, this is just a wonderment rather than a suggestion. I do wonder, in regard to this comment, and maybe other things too, if Julie would find it useful to work with a mentor from outside of our organization, somebody who is hers, not ours. And the Community Foundation has a number of such people. And if she might like to do that, the person should be her choice, not ours. The person is her sounding board, not ours. And I don't know what the rest of you think about that, but being in that role is not an easy one. I think it's often just plain difficult.
Do you have anybody in mind, Rhonda?
No, the STEP program, STEP, STEP program at the Community Foundation has a whole list of people. And if Julie might want to do this, it really needs to be something she wants to do. She needs to understand several things. One is that the person she works with is her choice, not ours. The person she works with does not report to us, but is Julie's sounding board, a safe place for her to say, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm being attacked in a board meeting, or whatever, however she might say that, Joel. And I have confidence in Mario Ewell, who is the STEP person at the foundation, to help Julie find the proper person. You know, but it's really important that if she decides to do that, that she understands this person is hers, not ours. This person does not report to us. This person may report hours or whatever to the STEP program, but you know, that's a different matter. The person, we'd have to be really clear that this person is not ours.
Well, it would be her private executive coach.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, and I agree. If you're going to do something like that, it's got to be somebody that the person in charge chooses, like the president at the university here. If he needs a personal life coach, it's useless to him if
And
the
he does. Oops, I didn't think before I spoke.
However, you're correct.
and you know, the board, if he doesn't have it, if Julie doesn't have it herself, if any executive doesn't have full control of the relationship and complete confidence that the board they're reporting to is out of the picture, they can't get the help they need, whatever it might be.
You know what my concern is about this whole thing is, how long has Julie been doing this? And I, you know, I don't know how long she's been in her position, but nothing has ever come up before
Oh, yeah.
her,
Yes.
about her need.
Yes, in the past, I'm sorry, Sharon, that I cannot remember how long. Joy may have that better in mind than I do. But a number of years ago, the issue came up around her preparation of grant proposals, specifically her writing. And the board at that time recommended to her that she go to Western and take the, I'll call it the writing course. It was the course that Joanna Rye Brown taught. And Julie did that. And she now writes grants that the Community Foundation finds to be exemplary. So, you know, this would not be something, the general idea of having a coach would not be a grand surprise, in the sense that if it were placed in the context of, remember when you went to Western and took that course, you know, we didn't sit there monitoring that course. Joanna Rye Brown managed the whole thing directly with Julie and not with us. And apparently, at least insofar as the outcome that Julie has described, it was spectacularly successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, so I guess another thing is, you know, I know that the ones that's been on this board for quite some time already know what Julie's responsibilities are, but I'm not sure all of the board members know what her actual job duties are. And so for us to critique what she should or shouldn't be doing would be kind of out of line for us.
Sharon, I don't know if I'd want to say out of line, but I agree with you that she has no idea what the specific duties are. And she has asked if she could be evaluated in terms of her job performance. She wants a clear evaluation of that. And until we come up, and there are here we need some tender ground in terms of what's considered appropriate for setting up um, um, job tasks and assessment procedures from HR law. They're workable. If nothing else, I'm going to stick my neck out a bit. Louise teaches HR. She can get us exactly the place we need to be so that we stay within the regulations and stuff. And I think Julie would really like that because then she has a way of doing an assessment. And I know she wants to do an assessment of the board. She feels that that's important to do as well. So maybe we can offer that as well. We should have some specific assessments of the board itself. That might be a good idea to even self-assess. Does that make any sense at all, Sharon?
It does make sense, but what I I kind of don't agree with is I think she should be assessed so that we have more of a foundation to say, here's where we think you need help with, other than like just throw it at her and then hope that she comes out with a good assessment. I think the assessment should come first. And that would lead into, you know what, we would like to, suggest maybe you do this, rather than like, we want you to do this for really no reason at all because she's not been assessed.
Well, we have to do that. If we do any kind of assessment of her, we get ourselves into a legal position where we are there are constraints as to what constitutes a proper assessment of any executive director. And there are some very clear rules. And I think you're right. We can't just willy-nilly say to her, well, we think this, we think that. I think that's not only rude, but it's also unhelpful. And we also risk breaking laws and employment laws in the state of Colorado that I think, would want to avoid doing. And if we do it correctly, which I think we can, by providing a clear guideline and outline, and I'm not sure of this, Sharon, I think she has to approve the assessment measure that we're going to use. And once she agrees that these are things that she's willing to be measured on for current behaviors, and by behaviors, I'm speaking very academically here, that are the job behaviors required of the person, then we can help her out. Then we can make comments in a fair and balanced way. Am I making sense at all again?
You're making sense, but there wasn't one job that I ever had that they ever told me prior to an assessment what I needed to work on. I was assessed first, and in that assessment told me the areas that I wasn't where I needed to be. That's the only confusion I had. I mean, I had it as a manager at Safeway. I had it at the hospital. Everywhere I've been assessed first, and they laid out like, okay, here's where we think you need help. Here's where you're doing good. Whatever. That's my only thought.
Sharon, if in any way if I'm saying something that makes you feel I don't agree with you 100%, I'm really sorry. I think what you said is true and what we want to be doing.
Oh, I guess I was confused. I thought you weren't, that you wanted to get her help first and then assess her.
What I was trying to say is that we can set up an assessment protocol. And I think it would be fair for her to say, these are the kinds of things I am comfortable being assessed on. So it becomes a two-way street, right? It's not us just showing up, hey, Julie, come on in. We have a list of behaviors that we're going to assess you on. And she goes, oh, where'd they come from? We just made them up. You know, I think it's fair that she should be able to say that these are fair and reasonable things, especially since she's been with the organization so long. Had we done that originally, it'd be different, but she's been working here for so long. I think she's earned at the very least our respect for her to be able to identify things that she thinks are really important when we assess her work performance. Does that work or make sense at all?
To me,
Well, to everybody, I mean,
Yeah, I think it makes sense. We've gone from, I'm trying to keep up here. So straighten me out if I missed a step or two somewhere in all this. We've gone from talking about an informal observation that may or may not be absolutely true, but may be a point of discomfort that has been observed by our board chair in Julie's behavior, to a highly formal, cross all the T's and dot all the I's performance assessment. I certainly think the latter is appropriate. And if we could figure out how to do that, so Julie is comfortable with it in terms of the areas to be reviewed, then let's do that. But let's not also say that our board chair cannot, should not, will not, whatever word you want to use, feel comfortable in saying to Julie, at the last board meeting, you looked uncomfortable. Tell me about it. You know, I don't know if you all see the difference that I see in this way of thinking about quote assessment. Every time Ralph works with Julie, doesn't have to be the most formal, written on paper, following 6 or 7 rules interaction. It can also be just, you know, at the last board meeting, I thought you were uncomfortable with X. Were you? Can I help? Can somebody help? You know, there are, and this is not to say that the formal assessment is a bad idea and should never be done. I'm not saying that. I just think we need to recognize that in the course of human interaction, we help each other. That's all. And that in an organization such as ours, at the same time, there is a formal assessment process. I'd be all for doing the formal assessment. Let's see what she wants to be evaluated on. Let's go with it. But let's also say, that when Ralph is working with her, or for that matter, when Vicky is working with her, you know, you help each other. You know, you don't say, well, I'm going to save this. I can't talk about this because I'm going to save it for the formal assessment.
Yeah.
You know, you help each other because you want to.
I think we need to be careful not to weaponize any of this. I think we started talking about Julie's wanting more from the board, but we don't know what it is. So maybe we should have a discussion about what the board, she wants from the board, and for her to be specific. And then we can say, and, you know, not, like I said, not weaponizing it, but, you know, this is what we like to see from you, so we can better communicate in both directions.
Yeah, I agree.
Julie, sorry, Joy, I apologize. As I said, I've asked her a couple of times what she thinks that she should be looking at with the board. And I don't think me asking a third time is going to do one whit of good. Do you mind taking this one on?
Well, I can do that. But I think it's something we ought to discuss at a board meeting where Julie is present. It bothers me a little that she doesn't know anything about our closed meetings, and I'm, you know, it's not something we can't do, but it, you know, I talk to her frequently, and it's been hard for me not to say things to her because, you know, it would say, oh, where did that come from, you know? So I've just avoided all of that, but it hasn't been particularly easy.
No, I would imagine not, Joy. And I'm personally not a fan of having a closed board meeting. I thought long and hard over Christmas as to whether this would benefit us, and I believe it will. I made that decision. I hope I'm right, and that it does.
Well, I'll talk to Julie, and maybe we can just table this part of our meeting until next week, because we'll have another one.
Yep, I'm good with that. Everybody else?
Yep, I'm good with it.
I agree.
Okay, so let's get ourselves closed off. There's one thing that I thought was important, and to the end of this meeting. It sounds like we would like to be a more active board. Stephen already said we need a construction committee. And I was thinking that we want to take maybe slower steps so that we can prove to Julie and Killian that we are dedicated to helping them accomplish what they need to. And I thought if we just had 3 committees, we've got 10,000, I believe, is roughly the number that I've seen of the total committees we have. I would propose Stephen's construction committee, a fundraising committee, and a strategy committee, and that's it. And that each of us gets on one of those so we don't feel overloaded, and we can show to Julie and Killian that we are prepared to do the work that needs to be done without overloading ourselves, because I know we all have a lot on our plates. What do you think?
Sounds fair to me.
I think it would work, but I think for all 3 committees, there does need to be a specific charge
Good.
so that it's clear what in the world is meant by a strategy committee.
What
For
I-
example,
What I'm seeing is I want to get us through the BHAGs as quickly as possible. I want this done and behind us so that we have a very clear picture of what we see as our main visions, and what a strategy committee, in my perspective, is that the board has given a charge, a vision, a mission, and then we need to build a strategy to make that happen. And that's what I see that board, that committee doing. just getting together and outlining what our strategy is going to be, what we need to do, what steps we need to take in order to accomplish the vision and goals that we as an organization, definitely including Julie, if we think Killian should be involved, including Killian as well, so that we have an agreement amongst all of us where we want to get to. And then we got to develop a strategy to get there, because just saying, I want to get to the top of Everest isn't good enough.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I'm going to take silence as agreement, which is what I always tell my students. And then sometimes they say, well, no, but we're all big boys and girls. So do we see that as a reasonable thing to do?
You bet.
Sure. I think so.
Next weekend or next week at the meeting, Killian and Julie are scheduled to be there, correct?
Not that I know of.
Oh, I thought they were.
Oh, Julie will be.
Julie will be there.
Yeah, sorry, of course. Julie will be there. But we haven't, as far as I know, nobody's invited Killian.
Oh, I thought he was going to speak, or we were going to give him a time lot or something.
Rhonda did ask for that. I don't know that we agreed we would do it next week.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe given what has transpired in the interim, let's start with laying out the committee work. And Julie will be there to hear that, and it'll be a forward step. Let's put it that way.
I think my understanding at the last meeting is we were going to have a meeting with Julie this next Thursday and then invite Killian to the following meeting. I'm not sure. I didn't put that in the minutes.
I think in the meantime, however, Joy has indicated she will have a conversation with Julie, unless I misunderstood what that was focused on. I think let's go ahead with Joy having a conversation with Julie, and then let's see where we go after that.
Sounds like a plan to me. Joy?
Yep.
How do you feel about having an email string with just the board? I think that would be good. And then we can talk to Julie after, like Rhonda said, we have a clear sense of, how did you put it, Rhonda?
Well, I just commented about, things, a number of things have changed since our meeting last week. And by change, I just mean they've evolved more than anything else. We still want to have feedback from Julie, and Joy is going to get that. We need to now do some work on the committees. So we've got a full agenda really for next week already.
And then we have.
Yeah, and I don't really feel like I want to do a email chain. I will talk to Julie, and then at the meeting next week you can, I don't know, you don't want to make me an agenda item, but something will come up because I can find out where Julie's coming from and get her to speak up. Because I think she needs to be specific what she wants from the board. And, we're all adults, we can take it. So that's what I'm gonna do, and tell her to voice that at the meeting.
How would you like me to put that agenda item in, Joy?
Well, I think I could tell Julie that during her staff report or whatever, wherever she, gets into the meeting, where she can be specific about what she wants from the board.
How does everybody feel about that?
Not a matter of feeling, Ralph, it's a matter of thinking.
Okay, what does everybody think of that?
I think it's a good idea. Let's go with it.
That will be my assignment for next week.
Well,
And I probably won't show up.
doesn't Julie usually do the agenda?
Well, she sends out an agenda, but when I was president, I could overrule what she had on there or move the stuff around. Didn't happen very often, but
Or
it
add-
happened a time or two. So,
Or add stuff, yeah.
yeah, because it gets pretty perfunctory until we get to her staff report, and that's where she would logically be able to speak her mind, I would think.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully.
I'll impress upon her the importance of telling us what she wants us to do.
And please, if you can somehow, because I believe this is true, is that we actually are a safe place for her to express what she thinks. If we could give her that idea, that I think would be helpful, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, it's just hard for me to think about saying something like that when we've been meeting in secret. So,
Well,
but I will impress upon her that she needs to, tell us what she wants because we can take it.
That's true.
So I don't think we have to get touchier than that.
My only concern, Ralph, is that we not have so full an agenda that we don't have time for this. So if there's any way to keep the agenda compact, I guess is the word I want to use. That's just a suggestion that the agenda not be an hour and a half or 2 hours long already before we even start.
I'm good with that. So let's think about the agenda items we're thinking is Julie's regular report. Then we want to touch briefly on the committees, what they are and what charge they have. Why don't I throw together a rough outline of what that can be, and then everybody comments on it. Do you want me to send that to Julie as well, or let's be careful and not do that, because then she'll feel that we're playing behind her back. So, and I don't want her, we don't want that. So I'll put together some stuff there. And then, like I said, I'd really like to get to those BHAGs and get them out of our hair. I know that Julie would really appreciate that as well. I think she feels this has been a drag on the organization, and I agree that the sooner we get it done, the better off we are. We got anything else?
I say we call it a night.
I second.
I think we're on the right path, committees are really going to help.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all. Anyone opposed? I just got to ask that.
No one's left.
Thank you very much for working so hard over the last couple of weeks. I think we are going to make some exceptional progress.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. Well, bye all. Sharon, I'll get you the video as quick as I can, okay? And I promise to read the meeting or the minutes this week.
Okay. Oh, you can always open it up and listen.
Yeah, I could. Well, actually, anybody on the board who wants to can. I mean, that's available to all of us. So,
No, because then they're gonna go, you didn't put this in and you need to take that out.
yeah, I think you're right. Okay, well, good night all. Thank you for your hard work and thinking.
Thanks.